Welcome everybody to the coding class. In this class, we're just going to, don't worry about missing anything again because everything's going to be uploaded on my YouTube channel, Vipro Programming. A huge thanks to Daniel Schiffman. And with that, let's get into our Pong tutorial. So first off, right off the bat, you want to have this over here. So this is our bare basic, the bare bone of basically what we have. So if we try running this, you already know you have this guy over here. So we have a window of 430 and we have a background of 255. Okay, so let's stop this. And right now, let's just get into, first of all, let's create, let's bring together what we learned together, and let's try doing this. So first of all, let's try renaming this into Pong. Okay. Let's say rename this as Pong, Pong sketch, or let's call this Pong 2 because that's weird for some reason. Okay. Let's just create a new one. Let's copy all this. And same thing, just save it. And once I save it, I'm just going to put it over inside over here. So I'm just going to call this one Pong. Easy. So let's save that. Oh, let's go back. All right, fine. I already created a Pong, so let's call this Pong 2. Yeah. So let's do that. And now, this is really, hold on. Let's make sure that this makes sense to you guys. This is really, okay, hold on. Copy all this. Nope. Save it. And let's just create a folder called projects. Inside the project, let's call this Pong. There we go. So now we have this. Let's create a puck class. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go into here and let's create a new tab. Let's call this a puck. So the idea is that, as you can see over here, we have a puck, which is our ball. These two paddles that move up and down that hit this this puck back and forth, right? That's the idea of Pong. And whenever it gets to the end of each side, each player gets a point. So that's what we want to do. We're creating this guy over here. So first, let's create a class called puck. And let's give it an X value of, let's put it in the middle of the screen. And let's put it again at the middle. So it's going to be like right in the smack middle of the screen. Let's make sure that we can show it. So this is our custom function that we're going to make. We're going to fill our puck with a white background, and let's make it an ellipse. So X, Y, 24 by 24. So it's going to be a 24 by 24 circle. Now to see this puck, all you got to do is go into your Pong class. So this is going to be our main class. Let's increase the size a little bit, 600 by 400. Then puck. So we're just creating this variable over here, our custom object, right? And then now we're going to initialize it, which means we're going to create a puck. And now let's show it. So dot show. So if we try running this, you will see this guy over here. Oh, what's going on? Why is it white? Oh, I see now. Let's make that. That doesn't make sense. The background should be black. There we go. So we have our puck over here. And well done. Next, we're going to try to actually move the puck. So let's minimize this, stop that. And let's go back to our puck class and let's make sure that, let's give it a speed. So let's say it's going in the X direction. It's going like 3 pixels per second, and float X speed. And it's not going up and down too much, so let's make it 3 and 1. So what we want to do is every time that we show it, we also want to update the position. So every time, let's just put an update, and X is equal to X plus X speed. So it updates the X position every single time, and the same happens to our Y. So if we do that, and now let's go back to our Pong. So let's get over here and let's do puck dot. We want to update it first and then show it. Makes sense. So if we do that, run it, you will see our puck moving, but it goes off the screen. So we want to fix that. Next, what we want to do is we want to make sure that it doesn't come, basically it bounces off the top and the bottom. So we'll do this. Let's go back to our puck class, and let's set the speed a little bit slower so we can see what's going on. Let's set the Y speed a little bit faster so it can actually start bouncing up and down. And now we're just going to create a function called edges. So this function, oh, by the way, when functions are inside classes, so over here, when a function like this is inside a class, it's called a method. So later on, I'm just going to call this a method from now on. So this guy will bounce off the top and the bottom edges. So if the Y is less than 0, so if the Y value of the puck is touching the top, or the Y value of the puck is touching the bottom, then we want to reverse the speed, so -1. All right. Now again, nothing happens if we try running it, because look at it, it's gone, right? If I try running it again, it just falls off the screen, right? The reason is because we didn't call this update. It has no idea what's going on. So what we want to do is we want to check the, sorry, not update, edges. Did I say update? Sorry. So we want to check the edges. So what we want to do is we want to call it. So puck.edges, and this is just calling it. If we save that and run it, we will see our ball bouncing top from bottom, top from bottom. Okay, now that we got that done, what we want to do now is let's try resetting, we want to reset the ball back to the, middle every time it goes off the screen. So we don't want it to bounce off these edges over here, because then nobody would get points. So every time it goes off screen, we want it to reset back in the middle. So let's try doing that. Let's stop that. And let's go back to our puck class. So first of all, let's do this. Let's set a reset. So void reset. And let's set it back to our, so these guys over here. We want to set it back to here. So x is equal to width divided by 2. Oh, what did I do? There we go. So I want to copy that. Copy that, paste it there, copy that, paste it there. So this one resets our ball back in the center. So basically it does exactly this, but every time this reset function is called, then it does it. Now, when do we want to reset it? We want to reset it if it hits the outer edge, right? So let's do something like this. Let's say if inside our edges, if x is greater than the width, so it hits the right side, and we want to reset, okay? And if x is less than 0. So if it hits the left side, we want to reset it back in the middle again. So let's try running this. As you can see, the ball is moving. Let's give it a little bit of a X speed now. Let's try running that. And now if you see, the ball will reset back in the middle. Now the problem is that if you see really closely, the ball is actually clipping the side and then it's suddenly reappearing. What we want is the ball to go entirely to the edge, come off the screen, and then only when it's off the screen it should come back. So the problem with this is that this ball, if we stop that, if we don't give it any speed, I can give you, let me show you what's going on. So this ball is drawn at a point, and this point is drawn at an X and a Y. So you're given an X, so which is our 24, and Y, which is our another 24. If you see over here, 24, 24. And this is a point in the middle of the circle. So what we want to do is we want to offset these guys over here, because these guys are checking if the point in the middle of the circle is going off the screen. Not if the whole circle is going off the screen. So that's what we want to do. So first things first, what we want to do is create a diameter. So float diameter is equal to 24, right? And inside, so let's take this diameter variable, and instead of 24, let's put it diameter here, diameter here. So that is our diameters, right? And now let's put the edges. So inside here, we want to make sure that if it's plus diameter, so plus diameter, then you want to reset it. So if it's going across the right side, plus the extra diameter, so the little buffer over here, then you want to reset it. The same over here, except you want to do minus because it's going on the left side. Okay, save that, run it. Oh, you gotta move. All right, let's say 3 and 3. Okay, and now you can see that it's actually coming off the edge, and it's resetting back like it should be. Perfect. Okay, so now that we got that, let's create our paddles. So to create the paddles, it's the same way we create our puck. We want to create a new tab, paddle, and inside our paddle, let's create a class called paddle. And inside here, let's give it an X value, a Y value, and let's set the paddles in the middle of the screen from the Y side, so like over here, right? And let's give it a width, so a width of 10 and a height of 100 pixels. Now, what we want to do is give it a show. So show, just like how we want to show the puck, we want to show this guy over here. So fill, 255. Rect mode. So what Rect mode does is it places it in the center of, you know how before we considered, hold on, let me just show you what's going on. It's better if I write it out and then you see it. Okay, so now that this show is good, let's put this show in our Pong. So let's go into this and let's create a paddle and left paddle right. So there's going to be a left and right paddle. Inside our setup, let's put left is equal to new paddle, okay, and right is equal to new paddle. So we are creating two paddles, and now let's put left.show, right.show. Let's run it. And what you notice is that there's actually two paddles that are drawn on top of each other. So what I mean by this rect mode center is that usually we consider this top left part of the rectangle as our 0, 0 coordinate. But in this case, what we want to do is we want to move that 0, 0 coordinate, our origin, to the middle of the rectangle. So actually it's shifted all the way down here. So that means that whenever we create our width, it's going to be from this point over here, and our height from this point over here. Okay, so now that we got that, let's make sure that we move our paddle. So we have a paddle from the left and a paddle to the right. So let's go back to our paddle, and let's create a paddle. Let's create a paddle constructor. So this constructor asks, is this paddle left? Is it the left paddle? So if that is true, if it is the left paddle, we want to draw it at the width. So we want to draw we want to keep the x at the left side. So this is just going to be the same as the one that you saw. Else, we want to put it on the right side. So if it's not left, we want to put it on the right. So width minus w. Let's run it. Oh, that's right. So inside our Pong, we have to make sure that either if this is left, that is true. If that is right, that is that's false. Okay. Let's run it. And we have our two paddles over here. Perfect. Okay, so now what we need is we need to move the paddles, obviously. So to stop the paddles from going off the top and the bottom of the screen, we want to set this. So we want something like float y change. So the change in the up and down motion of the paddles. What we also want to do is we want to create an update for this person too, because we have an update for our puck because it's moving. In the same way, we want to update this guy as well. So y plus equals y change, y is equal to constrain. So I'm just going to write this and I'll explain what's going on. So y height minus h2. Okay, so what this means, constrain. What this does is every time the y changes, it changes the position. So if y changes 1, it continuously updates y going in the down direction. If y changes negative, then it continuously updates y in the up direction. And what constrain does is it makes sure that the paddle doesn't go off, let's say so the y is not going over or off the screen. So save that, and let's go back to our main class. We want to make sure that we get to see these guys. So left dot update, right dot updates. Okay, and let's try running this. Okay, this is great, but the problem is that we don't have any input from our person. So let's stop this and let's create another guy over here inside our Pong, and let's do void key pressed. So every time the key is pressed, we want to, if the key code is equal to up, we want to left move by 10. So we'll create this move a little bit later, okay? And else if key is equal to, key code is down, we want to move the left paddle, move it down. Perfect. So we want to do the same thing for our right paddle, but in the right paddle's case, we want to make sure that the key is our W. So if it's W, then it moves up. If our key is S, then it moves down. Perfect. Okay, so we want to make sure that this is our right and this is our left. Okay, so you're getting an error here because we haven't created the move function or method inside, right? So let's make sure that we do that. Let's go into our paddle and let's create void move. And inside this move, we want to update our y change. So y change is going to be, so inside this move, it takes an integer of change, right? And let's go into equals change, and let's semicolon it. So every time this guy's called, so y change changes, and since y change changes, this guy changes as well, right? So if we save that, run it, we now have, oh, I see, okay. There is a problem in our buggy code. Let's try, let's try checking out Pong over here, and there's a bit of, oh, I see now. Okay, so the problem is that this is an integer. So even if, let's say, like you give like, you press it only for a little bit, it will continuously keep going in that direction. So if we try doing float steps, so this makes more sense. Steps, instead of plus equals, because there's no way that it will go the other way, because if you keep adding on stuff, doesn't make sense. So if we keep that, now our y change is going to be equal to our steps. Okay, and now save this, and let's check our Pong. Let's make sure that this is okay. So this is good. So now let's, oh, this is the other way. Oh my goodness. Let me put this up here. Come on. So since WS is on your left side, left, right, and right side. Now let's run it. We now have Pong. Look at that. So now you can move your paddles any way you want. Oh, there's a little bug in the code. What's going on? If I press, it continuously goes up. Let's see what's going on. Oh, I see. So if you press it, it sets the left movement to -10, and it's not stopping it. There's no way to stop when you release your key. So let's released. And every time you release the key, let's set move to 0 and right to 0. Okay. Now if we run it, now it's stopping whenever we want. Now you see a problem. The ball isn't, responding to our paddles. So that's what we're gonna add later here. So now we want to bounce off the paddle. Let's do that. So it's a little bit hard to explain about this one, but you gotta follow along with me right here. I'll try doing it. I'll try explaining it the best I can. Inside our Pong, what we want to do is inside our draw. Before we do anything, we want to check if the puck is check paddle left, And we want to check if the puck is touching the right paddle and the left paddle. So that's what I'm doing over here. Okay, so we want to create a check paddle left and a check paddle right method inside our paddle. So let's go into a paddle, and let's go into our paddle is okay, so this is good. Let's go into our puck because we're calling the puck. So inside here, void. Let's copy this. Check paddle left, and this guy takes a paddle object. So P. Now let's copy this because this is basically the same thing as our right. Now, this is where the tricky stuff comes in. We want to make sure if the puck is between the top and the bottom of the paddle. So if the puck is over here, it should not bounce off because there's nothing here. It has to make sure that if it's both over the top and over the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to put this in. So y is less than, oh actually, you know what, it's probably much easier if I just set something over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this code and put it over here. So the top of the paddle is the paddle's y minus its height divided by 2. So it's paddle's y, which is in the middle, minus its height divided by 2, so at the top of the paddle. The next what we need is the bottom of the paddle. So same concept, but paddle y, and then plus the height divided by 2. So the bottom of the paddle is there. Now next, since we're dealing with the left paddle, we have to check the right edge of the paddle. So our paddle of x, so p dot x, and then plus our width divided by 2. So this is our whole width, divide that by 2, and you get this guy over here. So now that we got all that, so what we want to do is we want to check if the y of the puck is less than the bottom of the paddle, so if it's above this guy over here, and if the y of the puck is greater than the top of the paddle, so if this guy is below this, and the x, so we have to create, we have to make sure that we create an r. So let's put in float r is equal to 12. So this is the radius. We don't need this anymore. So r times 2. So if the x minus r, so the x of the circle minus its r, so this guy over here, so this edge of the circle, if it's less than the right of the paddle, so if it's touching it, we want to run this if statement. So inside this if statement, what we want to do is we want to check, first of all, if we want to just reverse its speed. That's what we want. So just reverse its speed, that's all. Let's do the same thing for, let's copy this. Do the same for the paddle right, and we're just going to reverse the speed, right? But in this case, what we want to do is we're checking the right side of the puck, so this guy, against the top of the paddle, the bottom of the paddle, these are all the same, against the right side of the paddle, so this left side. We want to make sure that it's there. So let's save that. Run this. Look at that. Our ball is bouncing off the paddles. Oh, yeah, there's a bug. let's fix that. Let's go into our, so next what we want to do is we want to make sure that the puck is moving at the same speed no matter the direction. So as you can see, the puck is at a set x speed and a set y speed. Now the problem with this is that if its y speed is really great, so let's say if we set this to 10 and our x speed is really low, we're going to have a super fast paddle, and the worst case scenario is if this is 1 and our y speed is 10, this guy is moving insanely fast. If our x speed and y speed are 10, it's moving actually faster than 10 because it's moving 10 in the x direction and it's moving y in the it's moving 10 in the y direction. So it's moving super fast in a diagonal direction. We want to make sure that it's moving at the same speed no matter what. So first of all, what we want to do is inside our puck, we want to create a puck constructor and we want to reset it. So every time this guy is called, we want to reset. So every time we create a new puck, reset the puck. Then next, what we want to do is we want to remove this equal sign. So what we're going to do is we're going to assign it later on. So we don't need that. Later, we need to go to our reset, and inside here, we want to add in some code. So we're going to give it an angle. So what angle the puck is going to fly at. So we're just going to give this a random value between 2 pi. So 2 pi is a complete circle. We want to give it a random value between that circle so it can go left, right, up, down, whatever. Our x speed is now going to be 5 times the cos of this angle. So whatever angle you put, right, it's going to give you the x speed of, so the x direction here. Let me, much easier if I get my trusty dandy paint. So if we have a angle, let's say the angle is going this way. This is our puck. We want to give it an x speed of this guy over here and a y speed of this guy over here. So obviously if the puck is moving, let's say at a lower angle, so this angle is much lower than this angle, right? Its x speed is going to be greater, but its y speed is going to be smaller. It makes sense. If the puck is moving up at this direction, its y speed is going to be so much greater than over here, and but its x speed will be like it will be smaller in the same way. So what these guys do is they basically make sure that if the speeds, they convert the angle into the speed. So let's put sine angle. So if the x speed is great, then the y speed will be smaller. If the y speed is great, then the x speed will be smaller. And they're both dependent on each other. So if we run this, let's run it again. There we go. You see? So now the puck is going to be moving at a completely different, it's going to be moving at a different angle every time. Perfect. So now let's add the score. So inside our Pong, let's go into, let's give it a score. So int left score is equal to 0, and int right score is equal to 0. So it's going to start off at 0, and inside our Pong, let's all the way down inside our, underneath these guys, let's give it a white background. Let's give it a text. So the text is going to be left score 3240, and we're just going to copy this. Right score, and this one will be from the width minus, let's say 64. And let's make the text a little bit bigger because it's going to be really hard to see. It's going to be at like the smallest size possible. So let's give it a 32 size. There it is. Those are our scores, but you'll notice that they are not updating. So let's try increasing the score. So every time that the puck moves to one of the edges, so edges, we want to, whenever it hits the whenever it hits the left side or the right side, we want to increase the score. So if it hits the right side, we want the left player to increase their score. And if it hits the right side, we want the, if it hits the left side, then the right player gets a score. If it hits the right side, then the left player gets a score. Run this. And let's run it again. There we go. So it went to the right side, and now, as you can see, this this number went up. Let's try it again. And that number went up. Perfect. Now let's, you may have noticed that there were a lot of bugs in the beginning. So let's try fixing the bugs. First of all, what we want to do is we want to make sure that the ball isn't behind the paddle. So let's go into our edges. So the edges were a problem because every time this x value, so again, remember this x value is the puck's middle. So it's only checking if the puck's middle is past this line over here. So we only want to reset it if it's going against that, right? So let's try, instead of diameter, because that's not really smart, let's do minus r. So this is our radius of our puck. And let's do plus r, remove this diameter, and now it should work perfectly. There we go. Yeah, awesome. I just wanted to solve that one. That was okay. So now the next one is we want to make sure that the ball isn't behind the paddle. This problem happens if the paddle intersects the ball while it's going to the other side, and then it will start bouncing around inside the paddle. That's we don't want that. So let's go to our paddle, and not a paddle, a puck. And inside here, you remember these guys, check the paddle right, check the paddle left. Over here, we want to make sure that we want to bring the x speed around if the x value of our paddle is past the puck's x value. So let's move this guy over here. And we want the same idea in this here. But in this case, if the x value of the puck is less than the paddle's x value, run that. And actually, let's go straight into our next problem. If we try running this, the problem is that every time you create the puck, the thing is its angle is like this, right, with this one right over here. This is really, it's not fun to play because like the y value is so high that it's going to take forever to get to the other side. So let's try constraining the angle to make sure that, it gets to the other side. So inside our puck, let's go into reset, and inside reset, we want to, instead of doing the entire circle, let's do negative pi divided by 4 and pi divided by 4. So this will only constrain the angles to a certain amount of angles. And we want to, I'm still in caps lock. X speed equals -1. So if if a random, so a random number between 0 and 1, if it's less than 0.5, it's going to give an x speed of this. So what that means is that it has a 50% chance of going to the left side and a 50% chance of going to the right side. So if we run it, there we go. And now it's not, you know, bugging over, it's not jumping back and forth again and again, up and down. If you can see it, hold on, let me move this. It's having a 50% chance going to the left side and a 50% chance of going to the right side. If you could, yeah, there we go. There we go. So next we want to change the angle of the ball as it hits the paddle, because it's really boring. The angle never changes whenever the paddle is hit. So what we want is, if it hits the top of the paddle, the angle should be at a really sharp angle. If it hits the smack dab middle of the paddle, then it should have no angle change. Basically making the game a little bit more interesting. So let's go into our check paddle. So check paddle left, and over here, let's create a float of a difference. So the difference between the y value and the top of the paddle. Okay? And we want to create a float called rad and radians. And this radians is going to take 45. And now float angle map. So what this map does is if from 0 to p dot h, so from the top of the paddle to the bottom of the paddle, we're going to take this difference over here, and between that, we're going to use that difference to gauge how much of an angle the ball should move. So the greatest angle it could be is it could be negative 45, and the greatest angle it can be, or the least angle it could be is negative 45, and the greatest angle it can be is positive 45. Okay, so once we do all that, we want to set that if it hits it, we want to set the cos is going to be equal to the angle, and the y speed is equal to 5 times sine angle. Again, to make sure that the ball doesn't, you know, fly off or something, we want to do that. And the same thing happens to the right side, so let's copy all this, move over to the right side, and let's paste it over here. Now the difference over here is, instead of 45, we're going to put 135. And that's basically, yeah, that is it. Now, through my personal experience, I figured out that 135 is probably not a good idea. Over here, it works because it's on the left side, but on the right side, everything is kind of flipped, and there's just a bunch of coding nonsense that I don't want to get into. So let's remove this rad, right? And let's make sure that, let's replace this with radians to 5 and radians 135. So just trust me, this is what you want. It does work the other way, but it just doesn't work just as well. Okay. Ooh, what's going on? Whoa! Whoa! It's speeding up for some reason. What's happening? So we have our x speed. X speed is angle. Let's see what's going on. What's wrong? X speed should be this. Yeah, this does make sense. Oh, I'm multiplying it. Why am I multiplying it? That doesn't make sense. I'm multiplying it over here. Why would I multiply? Oh my goodness. Okay. There we go. Yeah, it just happens. Coding stuff happens. There we go. Okay, so let's move. There we go. So the angle changed. The angle of the ball changed. Every time I'm hitting it, it's changing every time I hit, depending on where it hits of the paddle. So now let's try now on to fixing more bugs. So what we want to do is the problem sometimes what happens in processing is that since it's frame by frame, it can't check sometimes when you move the paddle right into where the ball is supposed to be. Since it's moving frame by frame, it could move the ball directly in front of the paddle, so it feels like the paddle almost slips between the ball. So what we want to do is, if the paddle ever clips the ball, we want to move the ball back in front of the paddle, so to make our math actually work. So in our check paddle left, we want to, after all this, we want the X to revert back to the right of the paddle. Oh. Right of the paddle, and plus R, of course, the little buffer, because we're not talking about the middle, we want the right side of the paddle, or the puck. And let's go to our check paddle right, copy U, and this is going to be the left side of the paddle. Oh, there's a left side. Oh, what? Oh, look at this. This is supposed to be left because it's the paddle right, and this is supposed to be negative, and that is supposed to be left. Silly me. Anyways, let's run it. And if we try, oh, what's going on? Oh, there we go. Yep. Oh, the right side is, there's something wrong with you. There is something wrong, definitely wrong with you. What's going on over here? Wait, right side left of the paddle. Left of paddle. Oh, it's supposed to be negative because we're talking about this side of the puck instead of the right side. What it's actually doing is it's moving this puck in between the paddle, and it's kind of bugging it out. So let's run this. There we go. Look at that. It's a perfect game of Pong. So we can stop over here because honestly, this is working pretty well. And if you guys are a little overwhelmed, don't worry. Everything's going to be on my channel, so you can go at your own pace. So I just want to make sure that I don't want to make this an hour-long video. So let's try doing some fun stuff now. Let's make the paddle fat. So instead of 10, let's make it 20, because it's going to be a chunky paddle. There we go. And that's one chunky paddle. Okay. Next, let's up the stakes by increasing the ball speed every time it hits the paddle. So that's kind of boring, and you can even play it by yourself. Like, it's not really much. So let's go into our puck. Let's give it an acceleration of 0. And this acceleration, every time it hits the paddle, so let's say it hits the paddle of left, every time it hits this guy, we want to, the X acceleration to increase. And this acceleration will be added, so this acceleration will be added to the X speed. Got it? Next, let's go to our paddle right. And let's minus the acceleration. So since it's accelerating to the right, we want the acceleration to go to the left. Therefore, this minus sign. So let's also acceleration. There we go. And now if you try running this, it starts to get real fun. Hold on. So if we keep hitting the ball gets faster and faster and faster, and it gets harder and harder to play until it gets to the end. And then finally, it sets it to 0. So, yeah. So,
I have a question.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So currently, like both the paddles are like white and a black theme. So my question is that to make it more like obvious which side is which, is there a way to like change like the color of the paddles, and also to make like in the whole background like one half that team side color and the other half that team side color? Is that possible?
Yeah, that is possible. You want to try after? Let's finish up. I just want to do one last thing, and then let's try your idea. All right?
Okay.
Awesome. So the last thing that we want to do is, if you notice this, we have a dotted line in the middle. So let's put our use of our loops that we learned before, and let's go into our Pong, and let's go over here. So we want an x value of width, so in the middle of the screen, and an int of y is equal to 0. So now we want to give it a while loop. So a while loop, it will run until a condition this condition is not met. So while the y is less than the height, it will continuously create rectangles at the x position, y position, and at 10 and 10. And now you want to add 20 to y every time you run that. So if you run this, look at that. So now we have a dotted guy over here. Now what we want to do is this is not fun if we put it in the draw. So let's put it in setup, because it makes sense if we put it in setup, because it should draw only once. Doesn't make sense to draw it many times. And now, oh, what happened? Oh, I see. Because we put it in setup, now the background is drawing over it. So let's try, let's move all of this before everything. Let's save it. And now it looks much better. Look at that, the dotted line in the middle, and our ball getting really, really fast. And yeah, you're basically done. That's Pong. And I really implore you, please, everybody, you should really like try doing different things. Like for example, what Kishan talked about changing the background color. Let's actually try doing that. We have a little bit of time, so every time we draw, instead of the background saying this, let's create a rectangle and another rectangle. So this one will be, so Kishan, do you want to create one that's blue and one that's red?
Yeah, that color is fine.
All right, perfect. So let's create this, let's create a blue rectangle over here, and the other side will be red. So to make it blue, what we need is this 255 0. So this is our blue. There. And now let's copy this. And this will be our red rectangle. So instead of blue, let's set it to 255. Now, what we need is, we need to set the rectangle. So this blue side, which is going to be our left side, this is going to be at 0, 0. That's our origin. And it's going to be from the width divided by 2. And it's going to go all the way to the bottom. Let's copy this. And instead of 0, 0, because we don't want it to be in the top left of the screen, let's set this to the middle of the screen over here, and let's set it still at 0. So again, it's drawing the width of the screen, half the width of the screen, and the height all the way to 0, all the way to the bottom. Now we have this. Oh, I see. What's going on over here? Let's. Okay. Oh, this isn't blue. This is green. Let's fix that. And now we have this problem. We want to move this blue all the way to here. So let's try. Let's try width. What happens when I do that? Nothing happens there. If we try doing, so our x is this, y should be width and height. Let's try doing that. Okay, so we have a whole red rectangle. Width, height. Oh, is the height? Oh, is the height? Oh my goodness. Okay, I got it now. So you remember when we did this guy over here, rect mode? What it's doing is it's placing the origin to the center of the rectangle. Now that is a problem. So let me try going to help, go into reference, and inside my reference, if you ever have any problem, go into this reference processing, and let's go into Rect. Let's search for Rect. Oh, brought me to another page. Let's search for Rect. There's a Rect over here. Rect mode. Okay. We want this over here. So we want the Rect mode to be in the corner instead of the center, which is not what we want. So let's copy this and let's put this back over here. Now it should be good. So let's set this back to with 2. And now if you run it, we have a blue and a red side. So is that what you want, Keishan?
Yeah, it's good. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. And now let me just really quickly, let's just say, well done, everybody. This is the last and final, this is my final coding class, and then next week Sister Priyanka will be picking it up. So thank you everybody for coming to my coding classes. You guys have been phenomenal. You guys have been amazing. I never thought that this would be possible if it weren't for you guys, and you guys are, I mean, you guys are a star. You've done everything. I don't know how you don't have like 100 million questions about this, because there's so much that I just thrust onto you, but you guys are amazing. You guys learn so well, and I just want to thank you to everybody, and that's it.